Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Devo with me, Beau. Hope you guys are well and doing good and ready to jump into Exodus 3 today as we await the winner of the World Cup in a couple weeks. It's been awesome to watch. Our USA team got beat pretty bad yesterday, but hey, you know what? That's sports, man. That's kind of how it rolls, right? There's always a losing team, and it happened to be us. But hey, we're really always stoked at all the athletes. And I mean, playing sports is, man, what a lesson that you learn. You learn how to win. You learn how to lose. You can get injured all the time. It can be really tiring. You have to persevere. I mean, there's a lot of great things you can learn from sports. But it's just a sport. That's what we always say. It's just a sport. But anyway, it was a great run and came to an end yesterday. So today, Argentina play to see if they move on, and that'll be a fun game. And that's coming on pretty soon. So Exodus 3, welcome to the morning devotion. My name is Beau. It's a French-Canadian name, Beau. You could always go to YouTube and check out the archives of these devotions. And what you would need to do is either go to beauwillette.com, or you can go to YouTube and go to the search bar and type in the name Beau Willette. And I know that's a little bit of a hard name because it's a lot of vowels, but you'll know it's me, that's for sure, right? There's not going to be a ton of Beau Willettes out there, so hopefully that'll get you right to the right spot. And you could check out all the different books of the Bible, because I love to just go through the Bible. I find that most people's questions on the Bible or on God or that kind of subject matter could be answered if they just read the source. A lot of people just don't read the sources of religions, and so they don't know, they have a lot of questions. But if you just opened up a book and you started reading about it, or listen to someone talk about it, but listening to it is not as good as I would say going to the source. And that's what we do on the devotion. We want to go to the source. We want to read over the chapters and kind of see what's going on. So it's kind of neat. It all actually makes a ton of sense if you just start at the beginning and just go. I'm blown away. I am blown away that people go to church and they have their entire life and they literally have only read the New Testament. Like, that is like mind-boggling to me. I don't understand that. Because you wouldn't pick up any other book and start at the end and just read the last 2 chapters and say, hey, I read the book. That's not how it goes. How are you going to understand the entire narrative if you don't read the book? It wouldn't make sense. And I would imagine that's probably numero uno problem in Christianity or Christendom. It still is, and it has been for thousands of years, illiteracy. Meaning, not because we can't read, but now it's because we just won't read, which is, man, no excuse, right? We can read. We know how to read. It's not like the olden days where we didn't know how to read, but we know how to read. We've been educated. We just won't read, and that's sad. Okay, chapter 3 is super important. So it says, one day Moses was tending the flocks of his father-in-law Jethro, right? From Egypt, from the political world of Egypt, all the way to being a shepherd. And it says, he was with the priest of Midian, Jethro. This is his father-in-law. And it says, he led the flock far into the wilderness and came to Sinai, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the middle of a bush. Okay, so we see this angel of the Lord once again. This is something that should tip us off as we've been reading the Bible, because we notice we're dealing with a really unique being that is God. And this being is obviously the creator, one outside of time, matter, and space, but he's also spirit, and he's everywhere, meaning non-material. He can be everywhere at once. He hovers over the face of the deep. He is a hovering God. He is all over the place. And then you have a being that can also be in a body on the planet, all at the same time. And this is happening through the book of Genesis. We're learning about this God, that this God is very unique in this way. And this is just in the book of Genesis. If you just read the book of Genesis, you're going to get this, unless you are ignoring it big time, right? But it's really obvious. God could be in a body on the planet. God could be everywhere at once. He's spirit, and he's outside of time, matter, and space. He's the creator of all things, visible or invisible. And here we see that once again, there is this messenger of the Lord that appears. And it says, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire, which we've seen fire before. We've seen cherubim, these interesting creatures that are kind of in a flame, if you will. And we read elsewhere in the scriptures that God is a consuming fire. There is a purification kind of, there is a pureness to God. And fire is something that consumes and refines. It's a really unique, I guess, element. And here we see that there's this blazing fire from the middle of a bush. And so it's a specific place. Sometimes we think maybe the whole bush is burning. Maybe it's particularly in this section. And it says, and Moses stared in amazement. Though the bush was engulfed in flames, it didn't burn up. Okay, so it does sound like maybe the entire bush is inflamed, but he doesn't burn. And it says, this is amazing, Moses said to himself. Why isn't that bush burning up? I must go see it. So it's something Moses sees from a little distance, and he goes closer. When the Lord saw Moses coming to take a closer look, God called him from the middle of the bush. Again, a specific area of the bush. And says, Moses, Moses. Here I am, Moses replied. Do not come any closer, the Lord warned. Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground. For I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And when Moses heard this, he covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. So there's some interesting things here. The God of the Bible is a being that is unique and can manifest his presence, but it's somewhat veiled. There's not quite the closeness of intimacy and fellowship that there once was with Adam and God, who, remember, God walked in the garden in the cool of the day, so he got some legs, and they had fellowship. This is no longer that situation. You see, there's a distance, and there is this, be careful where you tread, Moses. And notice it says Moses was afraid. That there is, instead of this wonderful fellowship that Adam experienced with the divine God in the garden, where there's a peace between God and his creation, there is this distance and there's this issue that's going on that creates fear in Moses, meaning Moses knows that God is unapproachable without consequence. There is a fear aspect that hits his heart. It tells me something, that when you have the right kind of fear of God, it seems like that's the proper, there is a proper fear response to the deity. There's a proper fear response to the deity. Meaning, if God is really God and God is really all that and the creator of all things and omniscient and omnipotent and he, that all of those words, right? Everything, all powerful, never changing, everywhere, knows the intents of our hearts, then there's a lot to fear. Meaning there's an accountability. And Moses is very aware of this. And that's what I mean. There's a proper response to God. And if my response to God, like when I grew up, it was like nonchalant, like, oh God, yeah, and it was almost like a joke, where there was no seriousness to my relationship or thinking about God. There was no, it was just, oh yeah, God's like me. If there is a God, he's going to like me the way I am, and the way I am is this way. And God, my God's a God of love, and he must love me the way I am. And there was no like, whoa. There was no like, oh man, I'm undone, man. Like, if there really is a divine being and I'm going to have to hang out with a divine being, that there's going to be an issue. And I'm a little nervous about that. I have a little fear in me, a reluctancy. Can I really dwell with the creator of the world? I mean, will I not be consumed? Are you not consumed in the presence of greatness? What is your significance if you're with everybody who's famous and powerful and mighty in the world? I have nothing. I am a no one. I'm not rich. I'm not of noble descent or noble birth, or I don't think I am. And, I live in a cul-de-sac in a very small home, 1,600 square feet. Who am I even amongst human beings, let alone a divine being? And so there's a good quality, or let me say it this way, fear can be a good quality and a good barometer that I'm on the right track. We are now talking about the real God. Meaning Moses was afraid to look at God. He covered his face. He was afraid. There was something he knew that could happen to him. It could be his demise. That there was a guilt that was in his heart. Remember, Moses has been wanting to hide from what he's done. Murdering an Egyptian. He's been hiding himself. Running from Egypt. Hiding. Out in Midian. And now he's there just shepherding. It's like his life is just, he's now away from everything. But you can't get away from everybody, Moses. You can't run forever, bro. And I can't either, and you can't either. And God will, in a sense, track you down, as the song goes, right? God is good at tracking you down, finding you, and saying, hey, you know what? Here we go. It's time to deal. And boy, that's a scary thing. And like I say, I think that's a real good barometer that you're on the right track, that you have this, oh man, I'm going to be held accountable to this. Wow. Not I'm going to be held accountable to this. So what? I feel confident. I'm going to go do it. Yeah, this is great. And, like I understand having confidence, but there's also needs to be a little bit of that, who am I, in you. And so the Lord took him, told him, I have certainly seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard the cries of distress because of their harsh slave drivers. Hey, God sees what's going on politically in the world. God sees the injustice that's going on in our world. God sees who is right, who is wrong, what their hearts are, and what their motivations are for why they're doing what they're doing. You might not see that. And because human beings do not put their faith in God, meaning collectively we don't do that, we look to other people to deal with the wrongdoings on the planet. And God has set up government to be that punisher of those who do evil. But even the government can turn and go sour. God sees that too. And so God sees that the Egyptian political system is off and that the Hebrews are being oppressed. And he says, yes, I am aware of their suffering, so I've come down to rescue them from the power of the Egyptians and lead them out of Egypt into their own fertile and spacious land. It's a land flowing with milk and honey, the land where the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites now live. So those are the indigenous people of the land of Israel. If you've ever wanted to know was it really the Palestinians? Well, it may be if they were Perizzites, Hivites, Amorites, Hittites, or Canaanites. If they were from that descent, then, yep, that's the original crew that actually was in the land. But if it's not from this crew, then it's, I would imagine, not indigenous to that land. They are sojourners too. And so it says the cry of the people of Israel has reached me, and I have seen how harshly the Egyptians abuse them. Now go, for I am sending you to Pharaoh, and you must lead my people Israel out of Egypt. So God reiterates the promise given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and, it goes all the way, Joseph and Moses, and it's just this reiteration that you're going to have a land. And you're going to get to that land. And I promised it, but now it's time for you to go, and I'm sending you to Pharaoh. Now, wouldn't it be, sometimes we think, and I think in my devotion to God, like, hey, God, you just do it. You just do it. You do your thing. I'll just kind of be over here. I'll just stay over here. Kind of. But God says, no, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it through you. I'm going to do it through you. You go. And boy, what a lesson it is on learning to trust God. It's one thing to just sit and watch something happen, but it's another thing to participate in the process. And this is the cool thing about, being in sports too, right? You can be on the sideline, but it's wonderful to get in the game and participate. But it's not just you, it's everybody that's doing their part, that's producing the outcome of the game. You can't just say, oh, it's me. No, it's your team, Even if you're in singles tennis, right, at Wimbledon playing, I think that's going on now. But, you can't just boast that it's you because you've been coached, you've been trained, you have trainers, you have, all kinds of therapists helping you out, making sure you are in tip-top shape so that when you hit that, grass, on the court, you're ready to play. But notice God says, hey, I'm going to do this delivering work, but Moses, you go to Pharaoh. It is God who wills, does a work in us, right? It is, I love that. That beautiful passage in Philippians really goes with Exodus 3, right? Work out your salvation with fear and trembling. You see that fear and trembling with Moses. And then it says, for it's God who works in us to do and to will according to his good pleasure. It's God who does the work. We are to work it out. We are to work out our salvation. Today I need to work out my salvation. I got to put my shoes on and go and get involved and take steps of faith. And and that could be all kinds of things. Picking up paper, helping people out, doing this, doing that, cleaning toilets, whatever it is. How can I help out? But it's God who works in me, right? According to his will. Both those things are happening. It's beautiful. The interesting participation you see with the work and will of God on the planet early on in the Bible. We get to participate with God. Man, I'm thankful for that. So Moses protested to God, who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? This should be a common saying that we have to God. Who am I? Who am I that I should baptize you? Who am I that I should be in your presence? Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man. And it says, God answered, I will be with you. And this is the sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain. So they are at the area of Sinai. But Moses protested, I will go to the people of Israel and tell them, if I go to the people of Israel and tell them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, they will ask, what is his name? And then what should I tell them? They're going to ask about the name. What is the name? I mean, the Egyptians have many gods. They've been hanging out in Egypt for hundreds of years now. It's like they're going to ask who you are. Who is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? And God replies to Moses, I am who I am. The all-existing one, the all-powerful one, the all-present one, the one who is now. Now, it's interesting that Jesus uses this term, I am, in some very technical ways. Meaning, when the Messiah would come on the scene, the Messiah would make sure people knew he was the Messiah by saying who he was. It's not saying, I am God. That wouldn't have done anything in Jesus' day, because there's many gods and goddesses. But Jesus uses technical terms all the time to designate or to make it very clear that he is talking about that he is the Hebrew God. He is the light. He is the judge of the world. He is the one who is going to hold everybody accountable. He is the one who everybody's going to bow to. He is the one to be worshipped. He is the one who is the teacher. He is the one who grants forgiveness. He is also the one who is the Savior of the world. This is all attributed to the divine being in the Hebrew Bible. This is what God is going to do. This is who God is. And this Messiah or Savior or child that would be born, that the book of Genesis talks about, we see the revelation continue in the Bible that this person is going to be this all-existing one, the all-present one. And Jesus says, I am. He talks about himself being the I am. Before Abraham was, Jesus said, before Abraham was. Remember, Abraham was back in Genesis. He said, I am. He says it multiple times to where people realize what he's saying and they want to kill him. They want to kill him because they know he is claiming to be God on the planet. Now, it shouldn't have shocked him. Why? Because in the book of Genesis, God is on the planet with Adam. It shouldn't have been a shocker at all. Just read page 3 of the Bible. But sometimes we forget to go back to the beginning. We forget what the Bible is teaching early on. How can God be on the planet? How can God have a body? Those questions are questions by people who have not remembered or read the beginning of the book. They haven't read it, or they have chosen not to remember it, or they just don't remember it. That it's very clear that God appears in a body on the planet various times and in various ways. So the I am, the great I am statements of Jesus, the great I am here in the book of Exodus 3, very much tips us off that we are speaking when it comes to Jesus of the true God, the true and living God, that Jesus is God, the God of the Bible. And it says, God also says to Moses, say this to the people of Israel, Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. Jehovah's Witnesses a lot of times go, hey, we call ourselves Jehovah Witnesses because of we want to use the name. And, I do not agree with Jehovah's Witnesses' beliefs on Jesus. They do not believe Jesus is God, and I disagree with that wholeheartedly. As just even in the statements that we went over already, the I am statements of Jesus make it very clear that Jesus was claiming to be God, and it's very clear that his enemies also understood that he was claiming himself to be God. So, and Jesus never took those back. No, he was the I am. He's the judge. He's the Savior. He's the deliverer. He's the Messiah, the Christ, right? That word means Messiah, this special child that would be born. But if there's one thing I can agree on is that with a Jehovah's Witness is that it's good for us to understand the name I am or the name Yahweh. And to understand, or you can use the word Jehovah. It's just a different kind of translation, it's a different language type of thing. Like, how German has different alphabet than us and things like that. That's why you have Jehovah and not Yahweh and this kind of thing. But it's all the same. But, I think it's important that we understand that, God, when he is asked by Moses, he doesn't say, hey, I just don't say nothing. Don't say I don't have any name. He says, no. He says, say this to the people of Israel, Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me, and this is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. It's important to know that name Yahweh. And to know it's talking about the all-existing one, the all-powerful one, the creator of all things, the all-present one. And it says, now go call together. And it's just like, do I approach God, today as just some ethereal concept? Or do I approach my wife that way? Like, oh yeah, you're just conceptually my wife. I don't know you really, but, I don't know your name, or I kind of forgot your name. What's your name again? Kind of thing. What's your name, friend? I mean, you are a good friend, but I don't even know your name. No. You know their name. And it's important for us to know God, and if you say, okay, I'm going to call God Yahshua, Jesus, right on. That's right. Yahshua. If you say Father, right on. Jesus, Yahshua, Jesus told us to call God Father. Nothing's wrong with that. Yahweh, right on. It says it right here. My eternal name, Yahweh. The I am, right on. Use that too. But we should know those as we read through the Bible. We should be able to go, okay, I get that. So we're not just, the great spirit of the unknown. We're not addressing God anymore like that. The great unknown, the great spirit, the great this. Well, there's some names there. And we should know those names. And it says, now go call together all the elders of Israel. Tell them, the Lord, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to me. That's like a reiteration too, over and over and over. Has appeared to me. He told me, I have been watching closely, and I see how the Egyptians are treating you. I have promised to rescue you from your oppression in Egypt. I will lead you to the land flowing with milk and honey, and the land where the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites now live. The elders of Israel will accept your message. Then you and the elders must go to the king of Egypt and tell him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. So please let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. So that is the initial kind of proposition, right? Is, hey, go to Pharaoh and say, let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness. Maybe that's to Sinai. And to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. The idea of offerings are the idea of drawing near, sacrifices, to draw near to God. That's the word offering in Hebrew means to draw near. You know, that God is saying, hey, I am going to meet with them. I'm going to have a little chat. You know, that's unbelievable, right? That God would want to have anything to do with us. I mean, look at us. Why would God want to have anything to do with us at all? But God has made us in his image. There is a love that God has towards us. And yet there is a gulf between us and the deity. And you can see God bridging that gap. But it's going to happen through sacrifice. There's going to be a sacrifice that's needed in order for that bridge to be gapped. You start seeing themes. In order for us to be reconciled to God, there needs to be sacrifice. In order for us to meet with God, to have a right relationship with God, there needs to be a sacrifice. Something needs to happen. There needs to be a way for us to draw near. And this shouldn't be rocket science to us, even if you're a staunch atheist like I was growing up. In order to be in a relationship with one person alone in a dating relationship, you need to sacrifice things. You need to get rid of certain things, right? In order to draw near into that one contextual relationship. See, this happens all the time. If someone gets mad and reads the Bible and goes, oh, I can't believe God needs sacrifice. Yeah, you need sacrifice too. Just in your atheistic relationships, we all sacrifice for particular relationships. And this is what needs to happen with the deity as well. There's going to need to be something that helps us draw near. And so that's the kind of the thing right now to Pharaoh. Go to him, Moses, say we need 3 days. The Hebrew people are going to go meet with God. They're going to go have a conversation with their God. Interesting. They don't go into a temple to meet God. They don't have to just, they have to go somewhere because God is going to be showing his presence in a particular area on the planet. Man, that is mind-boggling. It says, but I know that the king of Egypt will not let him go unless a mighty hand forces him. So I will raise my hand and strike the Egyptians, performing all kinds of miracles among them. Then at last they will let you go, and I will cause the Egyptians to look favorably on you. They will give you gifts when you go, so you will not leave empty-handed. Every Israelite woman will ask for articles of silver and gold and fine clothing from her Egyptian neighbors and from the foreign women in their houses. You will dress your sons and daughters with these, stripping the Egyptians of their wealth. Man, you guys are going to go out looking like Egyptians. Really interesting. Hey, Israelites, after you get the new duds from the Egyptians, you guys put those on and you guys get going, But I'm gonna make it so that they look at you favorably. Hey, today, just perhaps, God will grant great grace, great favor to me and to you, and that people will look upon us favorably, And man, what a great prayer. God, help people I pray that you would move people to look upon me in a favorable light. And, God says, hey, I'm going to use those Egyptians, man. They're going to give you gifts and they're going to look favorably on you. And man, Pharaoh, though, he's going to, he'll be tough. We're going to have to work with his political, crew. And isn't it so true that usually it's the politicians and the government that's the tough ones, and the people just want to live, just trying to survive half the time. But God's got a plan for Moses. And Moses, the runner, the guy who just wants to, live far away as a shepherd, stay out of the hub, stay out of LA, right? Don't want to be in New York, right? But God says, hey, you're going back. You're going back, and I got something for you. Man, that's a powerful, powerful message to Moses and to us. You might want to stay out of the game. You might want to just take a break. You may want to just shelf yourself, put yourself on a shelf, where you're not in the game. You might want to put yourself in the dugout, right? You might want to take yourself off the field. And God says, man, I got something for you. And I'm going to be with you. And I got something better for you. But you're going to need to trust me. And even though you feel inadequate, even though you don't feel like you can do it, my ministry career, you can call it a career, has been everything in feeling inadequate. Am I really adequate to be a pastor? I mean, who can be a minister before God? Can I really be a worship leader? Can I really be an administrative pastor? Can I really be a Bible teacher? Can I really run a nonprofit? Can I really do this? Can I really do that? It's like, it's all that inadequacy of like, oh my gosh, God, can I really do this? Man, no way. I'm going to need you to do it through me, right? I'll go. I'll take steps of faith and jump, but I'm going to need you to catch me, man, because I'm trusting you that you got something in all this. And what you're doing is you're glorifying your name as I trust you. That really, it's about your glorification. You are doing a work of shining. And I just want my heart to be on that. And if my heart is on the glorification of Christ, I'll take a step out because it's no longer about me. I'm not thinking so much about me and what's going to happen to my reputation and what do people, all that. But now it's about Christ glorification. I want God to be glorified. And man, he sees the heart. He's looking at the heart of why we're doing what we're doing. Was your heart set on glorifying his name? That's what he's looking at. It might, to other people, it might seem like, Moses isn't the real good talker. People might look at Paul the Apostle and go, Paul the Apostle is kind of lame. And sure enough, people thought that way. God, Moses, this guy's, I don't know if he's fit for this. Paul the Apostle, he doesn't seem that eloquent of speech. People can complain. Your singing's not that great, or that message wasn't. Yeah, people complain. Yeah, it's not the greatest. But God sees something different. He sees your heart to glorify him. And he takes that faith and that you have in glorifying his name, and he will do amazing wonders in reaching people with the good news of Jesus Christ. Very cool. Okay, so God's going to use a reluctant man, a man who's a wandering man, a man who is running, and he's going to track him down and use him in a powerful way. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Bye-bye.